Life is unpredictable, but joy is a choice. Today, Amberly Lago shares how she overcame 34 surgeries, chronic pain, and massive setbacks, yet still found joy in the journey. If you're struggling to stay motivated, this conversation is going to change how you think about resilience. Welcome to Superhuman Selling. I am beyond excited to bring you the most phenomenal guest today. You are very likely already familiar with Amberly Lago and her work. But if you are not, oh my gosh, you are going to want to dive in, get connected with her. This woman is an absolute example for all of us of resilience, of perseverance through challenges, and of having joy through the journey, which is the title of her USA Today best-selling book. It is phenomenal. I've been reading through it, and Amberly, I was messaging with you last night and this morning just how moving it is, how shifting it is. Even in like the first couple of pages, people are going to pick this up and be profoundly impacted. So I will give you the opportunity to formally introduce yourself, but I just want to tee it up. If you are not familiar yet with Amberly and her work, Amberly Lago is an international expert, speaker, best-selling author, TEDx speaker. She has had a profound life-changing experience with an accident that resulted in 34 injuries, chronic pain, and having to rebuild everything from the ground up. And what I love about what you're doing in this book and what you've done in your work about cultivating joy through the journey is you're helping all of us tap into that inner source of strength that no matter what is happening outside of us, it's about the story. The way I think about it is it's about the story we are telling ourselves about it, and it's about choosing our experience of it as well. So this is going to be such a treat. Do you want to just give a more formal introduction of yourself, who you
Oh,
are,
well,
just a
you're
little bit of your
amazing.
background? I love
Elise,
you.
I love you and thank you for your sweet message last night and this morning. I
Mm,
think that, I'm so honored to get to be here. I was just excited to get to see you. I just
same.
get to see you. Your message really meant a lot to me
Mm,
because it was different doing this second book. I have a client of mine I've had for 20 years, and she was like, Amberly, you seem a little more like nervous or worked up about this book than you did your first book. And, you would think you would be that way with your first book. But I think because in this book, I am really so raw and real and vulnerable. I felt like when it published, I was kind of standing naked in the middle of the street. But,
mm-hmm.
but it was my sincere wish that people would get a hold of this book and be able to go, oh, she went through that too. Or some people might
Yes.
go, dang, I didn't know that she was doing that, because I'm sharing some stuff. I'm not even sure my husband knows. So, honey, if you're listening to this, yeah, it's true. It's all true. I wanted to share, these struggles and how I've been able to tap into joy and spark
Mm,
more joy in my life despite falling flat on my face,
yeah.
despite addiction, despite being an entrepreneur. And oh my goodness, can that be tough at sometimes? I was on the brink of burnout.
Mm.
I think so many of us just work and work and work, and that joy starts to get further away. And I just want to share that, you know what? Joy is not waiting for the perfect circumstances. It's really embracing the present moment, being grounded in gratitude and choosing our purpose. And that is how we spark more joy in our life.
Oh my gosh. Yes. And one thing that I appreciated so much is, and I think all of us can relate to this. I certainly can as well. Like you, obviously, you have a transformational story which readers can read about of your motorcycle accident and almost losing your leg, 34 surgeries, getting diagnosed with suicide disease after that, and overcoming that, and so many lessons learned from that. But then in the start of the book, you also share like a more recent experience where you're at the pinnacle of career success and your things are really building. And then a moment of just like exhaustion and Zoom fatigue and some of the things that happened as a result of that, and really looking around and saying like, is this the life that I want?
Mm.
Is this really what success is? And I was reading that last night and I was like, I relate to that. Like I had a moment last week where I looked at some things in my life and I looked at how I was spending my time, and like life is good. Like life in many ways is so good. But I was like, F, like some of this stuff. It was a lot of shoulds. It was a lot of things that maybe felt like I should have said yes a while ago and I did, but now like it's just not feeling aligned. So I appreciate your perspective that like this gets to be a journey and it is not a linear path. And even when we overcome challenges and when we're at something that feels like the pinnacle of our success, like there's still aligning that needs done. There's still moments in which we get to like consciously cultivate joy. So
Mhm.
anything you would say or add to that?
Yeah, well, thank you for bringing that up. And yeah, I was like, life is my business is so good, that one. What you're referencing is when it was a day I did 3 keynotes in one day, and I had one more event I was doing. I have a client of mine who just came out with a new book, and I was gonna go on live on Instagram to support her, and I had an infection. I was really sick, and I actually went to urgent care, and they're like, "This is a really bad infection. We need to hospitalize you." I was like, "Oh, no, 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 no. I can't go to the hospital. I have one more keynote to do and then this live I'm doing." And they're like, "Well, there's one other option. We can give you a really strong antibiotic. But if that doesn't work, we're going to have to put you in the hospital." And I was like, "It's going to work." Went to the drugstore, got the antibiotic. Of course, I didn't make time to eat and popped that antibiotic. I was like, hustle, hustle, gritting it out, got to the last thing, and I went online, and it was like the pain had gotten so severe. My body was shutting down, but I kept pushing through. Well, then all of a sudden, my mind was shutting down, and I could not, it was like I could think, but the words were not even coming out right. And, Elise, you're so amazing. And when we first met, you are the person that really helped me like understand branding.
Mm.
You really did. And I will never forget the time that you took to just explain things to me. And this is years ago. And I thought to myself, I thought, I have worked so hard to build my brand with, and be in integrity and share, the PACER methodology, which the last part of it is rest, stands for rest. And here I'm not resting. I'm just going and ignoring the infection, ignoring the pain. And I was like, I can't believe I've worked this hard. I've built my brand up only to destroy it with one live interview where
Mm.
I was a mess. I cut the interview short. I collapsed on the couch, didn't even make it to the bed. And the next day I woke up to so many messages like, "Are you okay? You don't seem like yourself." And that was a huge wake up call for me. I was like, I didn't work this hard to get to this point and be so blessed to get these opportunities to just blow it because I'm not taking care of myself. And I had to redefine what success meant to me. I had
Mm.
to get back to basics. And I was like, you know what? It was right when I got my book deal. And I was like, if I'm going to write a book about joy, well, then I can't write this book if I'm not living it.
Mm.
So I really, like you, looked at my schedule and I had to get back to the basics like halt, meaning never get too hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. And look, I didn't eat all day when that happened. I was just on the go. If you're doing too much and your plate is too full, I mean, I'm the one that fills my plate, but if you're with back to back to back to back, and you start to get angry or resentful, that can lead to picking up a bad habit or even going back to addiction. And lonely, like it can be very lonely being an entrepreneur, especially when you work online and you're in a tiny little office like me. I have a home office. And then tired. I was just pushing and pushing and pushing. So I had to get back to basics and remember to halt. And then I was like, you know what? I need to look. And I really highly suggest you listening, like take a look at your life and ask yourself, what brings you joy?
Mm.
And do more of those things. And I intentionally every day thought, I am going to do some joy spotting. And, it's like, Elise, you are such a gorgeous. Your pregnant belly is. I love it. I know when you're pregnant. I know when I was pregnant, I was like, I can't wait to not be pregnant. But when I was pregnant, all I noticed were pregnant people everywhere. I was like,
Mm.
there are so many people that are pregnant. Everybody's pregnant.
Yeah.
That's what I was focused on. Well, I was focused on I am finding joy. And the more you seek out what you're thinking about, what you're searching for, the more you're going to find it. The more you
Mm.
look for the good, the more good you're going to find. And so I've made it a point every single day to get back to basics. What really helps me set a foundation for gratitude and joy and get into my intention and my purpose. I remember to halt. And, one of the best things that has happened, and this sounds so ridiculous, but all the entrepreneurs out there are going to relate to this, I'm sure. I have a new assistant who I love. I
Mm.
love. I've never had an assistant like this ever before. And she actually is so loving and so caring that, like, when I went to this last event, I was just recovering from being sick. She was like, nope, you're not going to go to the VIP dinner. I've scheduled an IV nurse to come to your room. So
Mm.
the night before I spoke, I had an IV nurse in my room. She has scheduled breaks in my day. And she just left me a message this morning. And she's like, first was like, I love you, but you have just overbooked yourself on this one day. I won't
Mm.
let it slide this time, but don't do that again. And I was like,
Wow.
ooh,
It's a good assistant.
oh my goodness. And she's even scheduled in my calendar from 5 to 7 a.m. every morning. That's my time. That's when I
Mm.
do my gratitude practice. I get on my knees and I pray. I set my intentions. I move my body. I sit there and play with my pup. I do whatever. I go out in nature,
Yeah.
whatever brings me joy. And then she has scheduled breaks. Actually, I get a break. Elise, it's crazy. I would like fill my whole schedule up. And no wonder I was starting to lose joy because, you know, it's not normal to not schedule yourself a break to have lunch. Or
Mm.
I remember when she first started doing this, she had changed something in my schedule and rebooked something for another day. And I had this little gap in my day. And I messaged her. I said, oh my gosh, I have a break. I get to go to the gym. And she said, yeah, that's what life should be like. So sometimes
Mm.
I think we need help, like people to remind us, because I've always been good at the grit. But sometimes when you are gritting it out and you don't have connection, you're not going to find the joy. It's going to
Ah,
feel like resistance. It's going to feel like even burnout. And so I'm not perfect at it, and I'm learning as I go. But everything I've shared in the book, from the actionable things that I do, it's like I really put this book to the test in this last year. And I think sometimes when you're about to do something, or write a book or go give a talk or start a course, I don't know if you feel like this, but I often feel like we're tested. Like, do you really believe in this? Is it really important enough for you to do? Or are you going to give up on it? And I was like, oh no, this actually works, because I was tested more than ever this last year with health challenges.
mm. Mm. No, 100%. And I think that's, for those of us who consider ourselves thought leaders or, speakers, trainers, coaches, it's like we get to live and embody our work. And you do that. And I'm curious your perspective on this, because so many of our listeners would identify, right along with you, me, as driven high achievers. And it can be so easy to say yes to everything, to fill our plates with everything, and then to wake up one morning where literally, like you said, like your story you shared of there's not time for a lunch break. There's not time. We don't think there is. We tell ourselves the story of that, right? There's no time for this, no time for that. How do you give yourself permission as a high achieving, driven woman to release what no longer serves and create more space? in your days and in your life? What are some of the mindset shifts around that you've embraced?
Well, something that really helped me because I really had to think back to why I was doing the things that
Mm.
I was doing. And I'm an overcoming people pleaser. And I was like, okay, well, why am I an overcoming people pleaser? Why am I such a high achiever? Why do I always say yes? And it really stemmed back from not feeling worthy enough and not feeling good enough. I remember, and it's so crazy how things that happen in our childhood can cause us to behave a certain way. And as a child, I had some trauma. I was sexually abused. And when I'd finally got the courage to ask for help from my dad, he didn't do anything about it. And so I really felt like unworthy enough to be protected. And then at the same time, I was like, well, if I'm going to get better and have this not happen, it's up to me. I have to protect myself and I'm going to make something of myself. And so I became this high achiever and I did whatever I could that made me feel good. So I was in all honors classes, straight A's. I was the choreographer for the drill team, the cheerleader, the acapella, um,
Mm.
for the theater. I was involved with everything. I set a record for running the fastest mile in the state of Texas. It was like the pain pushed me until the purpose pulled me.
Mm.
So that really carried over into my career. And I was just like, I would say yes. I wanted to help. I wanted to serve to the point where I wasn't being of service. I wasn't being any good to myself, and something that really, really hit home for me was I had a good friend of mine and she said, Amberly, your impact is only as strong as you are healthy. And
Mm.
I was like,
Yeah.
oh, wow. That made me think of others because I wasn't thinking about myself. I was just thinking about other people. And so I really had to think about like, I'm worthy of taking care of myself. I am
Mm.
worthy of a lunch break. I am worthy of even saying no to something and having to reschedule. Like I'm taking care of myself. But I will tell you what has really helped me is I've got an incredible team that when I was praying this morning, I was thanking God I'm so blessed to have this team because it
Mm.
took a long time for me to get a good team. And they really have my back and they really look out for me. And so I have learned that, you know what? Sometimes you got to say no. If it's not in alignment, um, you got to say no. And there is power in that because it means you're taking care of yourself so you can take care of others, your family. So now I don't think about money really. I think about energy.
Mm.
So when I'm asked to do something, I'm like, well, how much energy is that going to take to get on a plane? How much pain is that going to cause? Because I still live with constant chronic pain from complex regional pain syndrome. Um, what is that going to be away from my family
Mm.
for 3 days? And that's what helps me make the decision. Like, how much energy is it going to take? Am I going to be able to do that trip, endure the pain that comes from flying and being on my leg? And how can I spend time with my family? Will I be able to spend time with my family? And, when I talked about, I had to redefine success, I had to really evaluate what is success to me? And success to me is being able to do the things that you love with the people that you love.
Mm.
And so I had to really take a good hard look at my life and go, okay, well, do I love this? Is this a yes? Or do I feel like I just should do it? Or I feel obligated to do it? And so I've actually turned down just recently a speaking gig that I really wanted to do because it was for a school, but it was in the Bay Area. And my assistant said, Amberly, that's right before your annual event. You need to conserve your energy for your own event. I know you love helping students, but you're not going to make any money on it. Like she just starts saying all the cons to the thing, and I was just thinking of the pro. I was like, all the pros to the situation, like, I get to be with all these students. So I think sometimes it helps when you can have somebody, a team or a friend that can just be a soundboard and kind of listen and give you some input and help you see on the outside perspective of things. But I really think it matters, like, what is important to you, what is top priority, and staying in alignment and staying true to yourself and what your needs are so you can be the healthiest that you can be, that you can thrive, that you can spark joy and be the best version of yourself.
There's so much in what you just said that I love. And I think shifting that almost like barometer for what am I saying yes to and no to, from money to energy, is so powerful. And I think that's how we step into a higher level of self worth. That's how we make choices as worthy women, worthy men, is really looking at what energizes me, what's going to help me cultivate success, which I love your definition of being able to do the things you want to do with the people you love and want to do them with. Because at the end of the day, there's so much chasing we can do on our entrepreneurial journey or on our sales journey. Some of our listeners are in corporate sales. And when we really are grounded in what success actually is for us, we can make better decisions and have joy in the process as well. And I'm curious because we were talking about this yesterday in a training call I was leading for some of our consultants about overcoming imposter syndrome. And I don't love the phrase. I think it kind of perpetuates the conversation. But I'm curious for you as a woman who has gotten to be on her own worthiness journey and kind of sharing that story of being young and coming to your dad about the sexual assault and not feeling protected, and the meaning, which very understandably you gave it, of I'm not worthy, protection, right? So being a woman who had some of that conditioning, to celebrating USA Today bestseller status for your book, landing stages that were maybe like a dream at one point. What do you do? I'm guessing the answer is yes, that fear and self doubt still creep in
Oh,
sometimes. Like, what do you do when that happens? When you're like, wait, is this really my life? Is this okay? I don't. Sometimes I have those moments. I'm curious how you approach that.
oh my gosh, absolutely. There are some big stages. I mean, look, I will tell you. So I just spoke at this event, and it was in Minneapolis, and it was a 2-day event. And the first day, they had an astronaut that was their keynote speaker, and the next day they had me. So I was looking on their stories. I kind of wanted to see what the stage looked back like, and it was a big event. And I I keep it real. I guess sometimes I keep it too real. And my husband got on to me. So I saw that the astronaut was, their keynote speaker. And so I got on my story on Instagram, and I'm like, wow, look at this airport. It was a cool airport. Look at the airport. It's so cool. And by the way, I just found out the keynote speaker for the event that I'm speaking at is an astronaut. And now I'm up to speak tomorrow. Wish me luck. You know what I mean? Because I
Yeah.
was like, they're having me, like an astronaut.
Mhm.
Like, who are you sure you want me? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And my husband, he saw that he doesn't ever post, but he watches my Instagram stories. And he called me and he was like, take that down. And I was like, what are you talking about? He goes, you just did a story about wish me luck. He goes, do you think that Ed Milet or John Gordon would be doing a story saying, oh, wish me luck? No, they would be saying, I'm going to go get them. We're going to get this. I'm going to, crush it. And so I was like, you're right. Thank you. Thank you for watching my back. And so I actually called John and I said, hey, John, you know what? My husband, I just wanted to say my husband uses you as an example of for me what to follow and do. And John is amazing. And he's like, absolutely, you shouldn't post that story. No, don't do that. So I
Love
think
that.
bottom line, it helps when you feel that way. If you've got somebody that's going to be honest with you and like shake some sense into you, And then it's also helpful when you reach out to someone and you get like a little pep talk from them, or you get a
Mm.
reminder of how far you've come. And so for me, another thing that helped was I remember it was right before I was going on the TEDx stage. And I was so nervous, and this client knew how nervous I was. Like every other speaker had a PhD, I was the only one that didn't have a PhD.
Mm.
And I was feeling intimidated. I don't even have a college education. And she said, Amberly, you made it through 34 surgeries. I think you can get on that stage and talk. And I was like, oh, yeah. So sometimes I think it helps to think about how far you've come, maybe the hardest situation that you've ever overcome, and that you got through it. And
Mm.
you can be, your story could be a roadmap for somebody else to get through something hard. And we are all, we're all just living our life and doing the best we can. And I think it's important to surround yourself with people who are go-getters and inspired and passionate, and that will help you in your journey when that self-doubt creeps up or that imposter syndrome. Because yeah, I still get that, and I just also do some push-ups and prayer before I go on stage, and that seems to help.
Push-ups and prayer, the answer to everything.
I swear it is. I was backstage last week. I was backstage at an event. We were in the green room, and I was with David Meltzer and his team. So it was all men, and I'm back there in this cute little yellow tight dress that I could barely move in. And I was like, hey, y'all, excuse me. I just need to get down and do some push-ups and prayer real quick. And they're
I
like,
love that.
Nick, who works with David, goes, Amberly, I know that's your thing. He goes, I'm going to start doing that. And now I actually have people that are about to go on stage that will tag me in their story because they're doing push-ups and prayer before they go
Push-ups
on.
and prayer. That is
It
so
works.
beautiful. That is so awesome. I love that. I'm not going to do push-ups right now because they're just different with a big belly, but I'm going to do some prayer. And when I'm done with this, I'm doing
You
some
can do some
push-ups.
against the wall. You
There
can
you
do
go.
push-ups against the
100.
wall.
There's always a way. If you're ready to start bringing in 10K to 100K months consistently, you don't have to do it alone. The 10K Club is where high achievers like you get the strategy, support, and community to scale with confidence. Let's make your next quantum leap your new normal. Join us at elisearcher.com/10K Club. I love this so much. I want to do a fun little joy in 10 seconds challenge with you before we wrap and tell everyone where they can grab the book and connect with you further. So, one of the things that you speak about is how you changed your life 10 seconds at a time. And so, we're going to have fun and just go through a couple different scenarios that someone may be encountering. And in 10 seconds, so we're going to have fun with this.
Okay.
You're going
Okay.
to, I would love for you to share with us, like, what would you do to shift your mindset and bring some joy to the moment? So, the first scenario is if someone wakes up feeling totally unmotivated, what would be a 10-second joy boost that they could do?
Oh my gosh, I do this every morning, and it's gratitude. I'm telling you,
Mm.
when my feet, well, sometimes the pain wakes me up. Sometimes when I take my first step, I'm in so much pain, and there are days I'm just like that inner critic creeps up, and I have to stop that inner bully. And with gratitude, because gratitude is alchemy, it shifts how you feel about your circumstances, it shifts your perspective, and it gets you motivated because it gets you focused on what you do have and what you can do.
Yes, gratitude is alchemy. That is so true, and so good. I love that. The other scenario I'll give you, I think a lot of people can probably relate to this, is let's say that you're overwhelmed with your to-do list. Someone's listening, they're like, oh, they feel like they've got so many things on their list and they don't know where to start. What is your first move in that situation?
My first move is I first say, I get to do these things. I am so
Mm.
blessed to do these things. And I am scatter-minded. And so look, I use little Post-its, and I have what's most important right in front of me and what's next important. And I love to cross it off on a list, but you have to cut out distractions. Distractions are the enemy of momentum, and they will just, I feel like it's the devil.
Mm. Yeah.
distractions, even good ones, are just they're there. They're going to kill your momentum. So get rid of distractions. Put your phone in the other room. And that was probably longer than 10 seconds. So sorry.
It was gold. It was gold. Distractions are the devil, which which is
Hard. That
true,
sounds
right? And
hard.
they,
But it's just
but
what I'm
true.
just saying what's on my heart. Yeah.
Yes, that's why I love you. That's why I love you. This was so powerful. I just so appreciate everything that you shared. And I know we could go way, way deeper into all of this. I would love if you could share with everyone how they can connect with you, how they can get your book, Joy Through the Journey,
Oh, look, I
and any other one.
got one,
Yeah,
right?
amazing, right? We're twins. I almost wore my hoodie today, but I've got a full day of interviews, and look at that. It's so
Well,
good.
it's getting a little warm. I got a little heated up talking with you, so I'm gonna take it off.
Where can people connect? Where can they learn more? You've got an amazing show, the Amberly Lago show, so I want to make sure people are connected to that as well. So please tell people all the places they can connect and how people can
Oh,
find your book.
thank you, Elise. You're amazing. And I'm no wonder everybody loves your show so much and loves you. I love you. And yeah, the show, you were a guest on my show, the Amberly Lago Show. You can find everything at amberlylago.com, including the upcoming event, the Unstoppable Success Summit, Mastermind, Joy Through the Journey book, all of it, and plus some free gifts right on my website at amberlylago.com. And you know what? Take a screenshot of this and tag us on Instagram. Let's show Elise some love. Let's shout this out there and show her some love.
Thank you again for everything, for your wisdom, for your time, and for being so real in the book. It was extremely relatable. I found myself going through your stories and showing, like, oh my gosh, yes, oh my gosh, yes. And then your perspective on the situations and how you have alchemized things through the power of gratitude, through the power of joy, is something that we can all learn from tremendously and elevate our lives through as well. So I just so appreciate you. And I cannot encourage everyone enough to go get multiple copies of Joy Through the Journey, share them with your friends, your family, your team, your clients. It's a really important message that the world needs right now. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And to you, my listener, thank you for being here with Amberly and me today. I want to remind you to trust yourself on your path to success. Your desires are green lights leading you and everyone around you to a brighter future.